Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Money decisions don't have to be either or. With Bank of America, they can be yes and. Like yes to sunny vacations and rainy day funds. Can our digital tools and guidance help you create the future you want? Yes. And help you keep enjoying today, too. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/yes and.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we are reacting to the San Francisco 49ers week number 13, 35-10 loss against the Buffalo Bills, and the one takeaway I had was, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, they seem to hit a new rock bottom. Welcome into the show. Hope you like, share, and subscribe. Leave that review on the audio podcasting platforms. And I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and what was supposed to be maybe a game where you kick off the Christmas season with a win on December 1st. The San Francisco 49ers said, nah, we're good. We were going to do the exact same thing we did last week. They had been outscored, I believe, what is it? It's 73-10 the last 2 weeks, or to 20. 73-20 the last 2 weeks. Not exactly where you want to be if you're the San Francisco 49ers. They've lost 3 games in a row. And in what I think a lot of people would say feels like the nail in the coffin to their season. Now, technically, statistically, that's not entirely true. The Cardinals lost to the Vikings today, although the Seahawks and the Rams both won. So there is work to be done, as there has been almost all year long. But the San Francisco 49ers find themselves not really in different territory than they did walking into the week. But again, it just feels like the way they've played, that this is the proverbial end of the season for them, and has a lot of people asking the question. And before we get to Christian McCaffrey's injury and Brock Purdy's performance and what George Kittle had to say, and like Jesus points out, how is this defense ranked 6th in the NFL? I don't know. The defensive line is horrible, Jesus says, and Moody kicker release him, waste of a pick, and San Francisco can't play in the snow or rain. A lot to get into, obviously. In a game that feels like there were so many things happening, it's just like, where do you begin? And I want to start with a lot of people already starting with the conversation of, it's over, move on the next year, 2025, here we come. I'm not there just yet, despite this team giving me absolutely zero reason to believe in them. They technically aren't out of it just yet. Now, with that said, they have the Bears this coming Sunday. That game, albeit seems like a stretch, is winnable. Then you have the Rams. There is a possibility, albeit not realistic, they do find themselves closer to the playoffs than this week would show. But it's embarrassing. It's 2 games back-to-back where, okay, against the Packers, didn't have Brock Purdy, didn't have Trent Williams, didn't have Nick Bosa. Wow, I mean, what do you expect? Can I honestly ask you the same thing? What did you expect to happen in this game? I don't think there was a Niner fan alive that said, they've got a shot. It was like, no, they don't. No, you're playing a team off a bye week at home in weather that only really they know how to play in. It's rare that teams nowadays that are happy to buy domes and get kind of reversible roofs on their our buildings to kind of not play in the elements. Buffalo's like, nah, F it, we're playing in the snow still. And maybe it changes soon with their new stadium they're getting built, but that's who they are. They love games like this. The Niners came into this game similar to how they walked into Green Bay, but to give them credit, they had some fight early, which was different than that Green Bay game. The offense comes out, they put up 3 points, CMC looks like himself, and it was giving me reason to not look ahead to next year. But when it's all said and done, and the way they played and the lack of fight in them, you have every reason to point to 2025 and say, well, we're playing for that now. And again, I'm not there just yet. I will be if they lose against the Bears, for sure. It's like, pack it up, pack it in. Let's move on and let's figure things out. But, I think this Niners team, they asked Kyle Shanahan after the game, what do you make of this team? And he was like, well, this team isn't like our previous teams. It's not 2021. It isn't 2022. And it really isn't last year's team. But I believe they have fight in them. And while I don't have a problem with those comments, it's just the fact that, well, if you had fight, then the last 2 games would have looked a little different, right? There would have been a little bit of, it may not be 35-10, it may be 35-20, 35-17, and it almost was. San Francisco left 13 points off the board, and I think had they scored those 13 points, and they lost 35-23, we all would have said, wow, valiant effort. You tried. You were so close, but it's the Bills in the snow on the road off the bye. The odds are stacked against you. And so now when you look at their season and the way this game played out, which is so crazy, like you listen to the broadcast and it was almost as if Collinsworth and Tirico, for as great as they are, had not watched this team play all year long. And they had watched this team play against the Cowboys. I don't believe that, like Bills Mafia North says here. First, I want to say big credit to Bills fans out there. It's one of my favorite fan bases in football, but more importantly, that is a football community that comes out there and helps clean the stadium for $20 and a hot meal and a hot drink to get that stadium ready for a game like this. That's awesome stuff. But Bills Mafia North says here on the YouTube chat that the Niners are a team really doing their best they can, considering I'd be defeated if all my stars got hurt. And I think that is a misconception. That, yes, there are undoubtedly injuries, right? You have Ayuk's been out for a lot of the year, Hargrave's been out for a lot of the year, but, Dre Greenlaw hasn't played a single snap. Hufanga was injured, then he came back, then he got hurt again. There's been Kittle and Debo have missed some time, but not a lot of time. The injuries, while yes, hinder any team, this team is not playing poorly because of injuries. This team is not bad because of the injuries. Yes, they affect you, but this team is playing bad because they're just a bad team. They have no discipline. You have Devondre Campbell all year long, although he wasn't a massive, I guess you can say, detriment in this game, all year long, not filling lanes, not filling holes, and you have a team so top heavy, that when you have injuries to players like Trent Williams or Aaron Banks or Nick Bosa, more importantly, or Diamondor Lenore, well, you're playing people like Devondre Campbell and D. Winters and Jalen Graham, who was cut and brought back during the season, and you're playing Nick McLeod at nickel, who was signed off the Giants practice squad, or who was cut by the Giants, signed to your practice squad, and that's where they're at. They're playing practice squad players. They're playing Robert Beal Jr., who really shouldn't be rostered at this point. They're playing people like, again, Devondre Campbell, or on the offensive line. They're playing Jake Brendel, who's been a freaking just mess of a player all year long, and you're hoping John Feliciano come in and save the day, but he can't, and it seems like his career is going to be over with because of injury. I And earlier in the year, you're playing Ronnie Bell, who got waived finally after all this time. That should have had his own breaking news show on this podcast. But they just it's a bad roster. It's a team that has stars that are underperforming all over the place. I thought in this game, there was two massive culprits of just terrible play. And when I mean terrible play, I mean utterly terrible football. And, now San Francisco is 5-7. The Bills are 10-2. And that's what you expect when you play like this player did today. I know it's hard to come down on a player that has lost something and someone during the year like Charvarius Ward has and losing his daughter. And, that's a terrible situation. And I understand fans wanting to give him time. I totally get it. Totally understand it. And this has nothing to do with that. I wish them the best, and I really want them to find peace and hope they can find their way to navigate a really tough situation. That said, on a strictly football basis, he was absolutely terrible today. On a 3rd and 9, you're going to force a second straight 3 and out. You're going to hold the Bills to nothing. You're leading 3-0. You get the ball back. Maybe you score again, whether it's 6-0 or maybe it's 10-0. Early lead, put the Bills on their heels early in their own place, and give your team finally some control in a game really since that Buccaneers one, which even that one was like, I don't know what's going on. It's 3rd and 9, and on a drive that you can make a statement, and it can really change the trajectory of a game. Mooney Ward gets called for illegal contact on an incomplete pass that would have got you the ball back on a 3rd and 9, and it's an automatic first down. Later on that exact same drive, on the last play of the drive, mind you, it is 1st down and goal for the Bills. They're inside the red zone, and Ray Davis gets the snap, cuts to his right. Who is the last person there that is supposed to contain the running back, to force him back inside? An issue we have talked about all year long, whether it was, unfortunately, for Mooney Ward pre the disaster and the tragedy he suffered. It's been a problem all year. No matter when it has occurred, it's been a problem all year long. Not containing the edge. What does he do? Gets beat to the outside, touchdown Bills. And I understand it was snowing, and I get to a certain degree, do you want to contribute that to struggles? Fine, that's okay. But, it just not like the Bills had no problem really playing defense tonight. The Bills didn't have a problem running the football tonight. The Niners did. And for Mooney Ward on that drive, it wasn't just that, it was a bad penalty or bad run defense. No, on the previous play before your 3rd down penalty that cost San Francisco the drive, Bernardo Green makes an excellent diving, sliding PBU to stop a deep throw from Allen to Shakur. And you're like, wow, what a great play. Young players are stepping up in the biggest game of the season for you in a must-win game. And then your veteran player you're paying the most money to in that secondary is and has arguably been your 4th best cornerback all year long. That includes Lenore, Green, and Isaac Gatum. I get it. He's a name. I get you trust him, but I think at this point this year, I get you're in a contract season, but Mooney Ward has honestly played so poorly that if you really want to win games, is it worth playing him? And I hate saying that. I love Charvarius Ward, but it's stuff like that that's happened all year long that's cost you. Later in the game, you look at the very next drive for San Francisco, the drive Christian McCaffrey gets injured on. Okay? The drive stalls, they miss the field goal, and on the very next drive, first play of that drive, what happens? The same thing that has happened in the Packers game and all year long. And it was like this team didn't even read the tape, watch the tape from 1 week ago. And that's frustrating for a team that got run all over. in Green Bay at Lambeau that was just run through like they were a wet piece of paper. They crumbled under the pressure of any friction against them when it was Josh Jacobs. Jair Brown, who has been in the last month and a half or so kind of playing himself out of a starting job next year, whether that is to Mustafa and Ufunga or Mustafa and somebody else, like I just have a hard time believing he'll start next season after what he's shown the last month and a half. He's been terrible. But yeah, your offense loses at that point their best player in Christian McCaffrey. The very next drive, first play, a 65-yard touchdown run because Jair Brown can't even put a body on the running back. I get your third-round pick. I get you're in year 2. But it's like, what is going on? Like, I know it's slippery and it's snowy and you're kind of tiptoeing, but at that point, you're not even running laterally. You're running vertically. That wasn't a problem, really, all day long. There were some snaps Evan Anderson didn't even get off the freaking snap. He just was like, whoa, I'm on the ground. Jair Brown, for as great as the ending of the season was for him last season, he has played poorly. And when your offense is like, oh crap, to none of our own fault, we lost Christian McCaffrey due to injury. And it's like, okay, defense, step up for at least one drive. The very next play, again, it wasn't like Cook made you miss. It wasn't like he broke the tackle. It was you didn't even get an arm on him. And it's like, how do you expect to win games like that when you can't even complete the fundamentals of football? If you're someone that wants to say, oh, snow, it's slippery, okay, fine. That's your opinion. Thumbs up to you. But, I don't feel that way. They are terrible run defending team on the interior. And one of their safeties, at least Mustafa's like, I'm a rookie and I'm flying around making plays. Brown's not even flying around making plays. He's actively not making plays. And he's also terrible in run defense. And in this game, left a dude wide open in coverage on a third down. And it's like, okay, so if you're not good in coverage, not a great run defender, didn't this team just sign Deshaun Gibson to a brand? Why isn't he out there? Now, maybe he's not fully healthy. Maybe he isn't a full go. He's on your 53-man roster. Why can't he play? Wouldn't it make sense for that guy to play? That was money for you the last 2 years? It's very confusing. I thought those two players were a massive reason as to why they lost this game. Back-to-back games for Jair Brown where he just misses the lane he's supposed to be in. And in this game, didn't even make a play. Not a single play. And that doesn't even account for all the turnovers in this one. It was a tough one. This was a very, very, very tough game to watch. And honestly, this season has been so bad. It's gotten to a point of comedy. You're kind of like, what does this drive have in store next for us? That's how bad it's been for the roster and really for the outcome of the game. The football gods really, really hate the Niners this year. And, it's sometimes years like this are going to happen. Teams have to have a reset and get smacked in the face to realize what needs to change. But unfortunately for a team like San Francisco, you hope those are years like 2020. And they had a year like 2020. And it's not a year where it's like, hey, this is our last shot. The last effort maybe with this core. And, a lot of nuances are involved. Again, injuries are certainly a factor in regards to no Ayuk, and in this game, no Bosa and Trent. But let's be honest here. If I asked you, like last week, would it have mattered if Nick Bosa played in this game? I don't think so. Would it have mattered if Trent Williams played in this game? I thought Jalen Moore was okay. Ben Barch was pushing dudes out there, moving the pocket, opening up lanes for CMC. Would it have mattered if Lenore played in this game? I don't really think so. This game wouldn't have mattered if San Francisco was 100% completely healthy. And we're talking about Hargrave and Ayuk and Dre Greenlaw. This game really, really wouldn't have mattered. in regards to the outcome. It wouldn't have changed it. They're just not a good fundamental football team. They came out there, they gave it a good valiant 2 drives and said, oh crap, we ain't got it today. I think you walk into the offseason, if you want to talk about that, Jake Moody, gotta go, man. And if you're not going to cut him, of the blunders today, I get kicking in the wind and the snow's a little tough, so I can forgive Jake, but it's not been a one-game issue, right? So you're at least signing a veteran kicker to have some competition with. Maybe it's Anders Carlson again, I don't know. You're bringing in somebody. You're signing a safety. You're drafting a safety to hopefully make sure Jair Brown's not starting for you next year. You're drafting a linebacker. You're drafting 2 offensive linemen.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
You're drafting a running back. Like, this team desperately needs help. And it's not a one position fix. It's like, no, there are holes everywhere. And then you talk about the aging process for Fred Warner, broken ankle. Now he's going into his 30s. George Kittle, who's already in his 30s, he's kind of pissed off, and he's aging the way he plays. Debo, 29 years old next year. How do you feel about that? You're having to play people like Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott and Yetur Gross-Matos, Leonard Floyd. Like, playing 2 of those guys is okay. The issue is you're playing all 4 of those guys. Now, the hope is that Gross-Matos is like your 3rd or 4th edge rusher, and I think was the plan. But, okay, you're still playing Jordan Elliott, who was supposed to be like the rotational run defender who has been terrible all year long. Like, that was supposed to be the run defender you brought in. Okay, well, Armstead's gone, and you lose some other people. It's like, okay, excuse me. Like, we're going to sign Jordan Elliott. He was a really good run defender last year. He can't stop a semi-truck. And he's always hurt. Waste. Like, And, you have Bills Mafia North here saying when he was with Buffalo, Feliciano had the infamous moment where he stuck up for Josh Allen in a scrap, and he got so much praise for it, which annoyed me because he could get the sack. I mean, the thing is right now is that I would take a John Feliciano sticking up for Brock Purdy, even if Feliciano gave up for the sack, over Jake Brendel missing blocks on wide-open screen passes that would have given you an extra 10 to 15 yards before halftime that maybe would have gave you a field goal opportunity closer, which would have mattered, no. But I'm tired of Jake Brendel walking back from plays, shaking his head like, oh, darn, what happened? Brother, you suck. Like, every single play, just watch the center. It is a nightmare of what's happening. And he wasn't even having a terrible game today. It's just on the screen passes, he's not getting out fast enough. Like, Pooney's out there, and Pooney plays right next to him. Why can't Jake get out there? It's really frustrating. Really frustrating. Panero 719 says, or 718, says, Niners are terrible. The time has come. The dark days will be here for the Niners. I hope you've enjoyed those good years, the years you got to the Super Bowl and lost them. There was a lot of talk about in this game that I think is frustrating for Niner fans because there seems to be this like national lack of knowledge of who this team is this year. There seems to be this, same old 49ers, just wait till they get an opportunity. Don't let them back in the game. And it's like, okay, as fans, as people that watch every single game, that take just miles of notes for my job and for this team has struggled with the same things they struggled with today. Like, Nothing in this game should have surprised you. Every single time, it was, okay, here comes San Francisco. Okay, great. Here comes San Francisco. Now's their time. Deebo Samuel, massive kick return coming out of halftime. Almost the exact same situation that happened last week. And it got called back last week. And this one, excuse me, they come out of halftime. They are down 21-3 at halftime. The first play, 60-yard kick return by Deebo Samuel. They get into the red zone. First and goal, run by Mason. Second and goal, run by Mason, get you a first down. You get a gift on an offsides encroachment by Buffalo and Von Miller. The next play, first and goal, to make it an 11-point game. To make it a real, okay, here comes San Francisco. Get momentum, change the outcome, kind of push back on Buffalo. What happens? You get to the 1-yard line, and I can honestly say maybe the 1-inch line. And Kyle Juszczyk, for the first time since 2020, fumbles the football. And you're like, okay. And then Buffalo doesn't only recover it in the snow, picks it up and runs all the way 47 yards to practically midfield. And it's like, if there was any example to sum up, it is the perfect amalgamation of yep, that is the San Francisco 49ers 2024 season. You get to the red zone. You're feeling good. Here they come. Here come the San Francisco 49ers. Oh my God, they fumbled it. It happened against the Cardinals. It happened against the Rams. It happened against the Packers. It almost happened against the Buccaneers. It almost happened against the Cowboys. It's like every single game is the same thing. They're just not good enough. They're it's so frustrating to just be on the precipice of being involved in football games, to being competitive, to winning some games. And unfortunately in this one, well, there were so many other issues. Brock Purdy wasn't great in this game. Christian McCaffrey, CMC injured his PCL. It's just mistakes like this. So, okay, crap. You could have made it an 11-point game. Buffalo takes it, and you stop them. Cool. No harm, no foul. Not a big deal. Awesome. You get a gift. You get a 3-and-out. They stall. They punt the ball and put it on your 5-yard line. And you're like, great. Now we have to overcome even bigger odds to get back in the football game. And the very next drive by the Bills, it is 21-3. The game is teetering on, okay, is San Francisco going to come back? Is Buffalo going to pull away? Well, how's this game going to go? The ball's on the Bills' 48-yard line. Right back to where they were on the fumble return before their 3-and-out in their own punt. The first play, Ray Davis, 10-plus yard run. Then you get into 3rd and 2, and you're like, here we go. On an incomplete pass, Allen throws an incomplete pass because Malcolm Mustafa makes a diving PBU and gets the pass deflection. You're like, oh my God, what a game-changing play by a young player. This is a phenomenal play. He's diving, he's in the snow, he's making up ground. You're like, this is exactly what you want from your defense. To keep you in the game, give your offense another chance to hopefully make a play. And it's 4th and 2. The outcome of the game will get changed right here. And on a crosser, Green gets burnt and then just falls down because of the snow. And then Shakir goes for 25 yards. And you're like, well, there's the game. But to make matters worse, and honestly, to make it so comical, I don't know about you, but I have older family. I felt like I was watching Abbott and Costello and the Three Stooges. And I was like, I'm watching a slapstick comedy from 1962, 1954. And I was like, this is so it's buffoonery. It's tomfoolery. What am I watching? What's befolding in front of my face is not football. It's something else completely. And Josh Allen throws behind Amari Cooper on a slant. Cooper somehow catches a football behind him. He chicken wings it, catches it, is stumbling, trying to stay up. And then I think it was Green goes to tackle him, like kind of stands him back up to get him on his feet, which why would you do that? Just take him down. And everyone's like trying to like huddle around him and kind of stop momentum to get the rest to blow a whistle. He doesn't go down, and he kind of just like pushes the ball out to Josh Allen, who catches it and runs and dives for a touchdown. And you're just like, what did I just watch? Like, one, that was one of the greatest plays I have ever seen. Two, why did it have to happen to us, of all people? Like, that was awesome. Wow. That was terrible. It just like, I hate that. I hate that I had to watch that because it was so cool. It was like, oh my goodness. Like, so it's 28-3, right? You're like, oh great. Okay, no Christian McCaffrey. How are they going to respond? And San Francisco, on another great return by Deebo Samuel, a 42-yard kick return. Great, perfect, awesome. Here we go again. They score a touchdown finally. It was arguably one of the best plays of the game. On a 3rd and 10, you go to Deebo. On a 4th and 5, they get a completion to Jawan Jennings for 26 yards downfield. The offense is alive. They're pushing the football downfield. You're like, great. Had you just scored on the Juszczyk touchdown, it's like 17-28. And you're in the game again. You're exactly where you were before. 11-point game. Awesome. Here we go. And they have a really good play by... Excuse my dog's itching over here. Sorry. A really great play by Grendo where he's on Purdy's right and he runs to his left and they throw it to him. And it was like, where has that been all year long? Where has that creativity been all year long? You're doing fake runs and fake screen passes and you have Pierce all in the backfield. It's like, where has this been? Why are you waiting till you're down 28-3 to make these plays? Why are you waiting till it's like the game's out of reach? Now we're desperate. Shouldn't you be desperate from the literal beginning of the football game? If this is not a win now or go home, season on the line kind of outing for you, and you're not going to take it that seriously, then why should anybody else? It's like, there's no wonder that post-game, they asked George Kittle about the game itself. And, Kittle, always kind of happy-go-lucky, tongue-in-cheek, always like, hey, how are ya? How you going there? And, like, always doing a Canadian accent, always happy-go-lucky, feeling pretty good about himself. And, Mr. Optimistic, right? For the first time, I think, maybe under Kyle Shanahan, I kind of sensed some defeat in George Kittle. And they asked him, like, hey, you caught one pass, like, in the whole game? Like, why didn't you catch any more? He was like, I don't know. They were like, well, like, was there a reason for whatever? And for your down production? He was like, well, to summarize what he said here, he said essentially that I had to block for a lot of the game, and then I was open a lot of the other times, didn't get the football. And it's like, well, you're going to have to kind of, I don't have an answer for you. And, that's unlike Kittle to say. It's unlike George Kittle to essentially, in his own words, kind of call out or at least point out some problems. Like, I don't know why I'm in the backfield all the time blocking. I don't know why I'm open and no one's giving me the football. Now, Kittle has been one of, if not the most productive player on the entire team this year offensively. And I think if there is a person to make a comment like that, it is George Kittle. He has lost 2 Super Bowls. He's lost multiple NFC Championship games. He's been out there giving it his all and having a great year. Probably going to be this team's lone Pro Bowler. And it just like doesn't... It's moments like that when you hear a player that's been so positive, so bought in, so sold on team. This is where we're going to be. And I'm red and gold, Tom, Jed and old. And, for a player like George Kittle, and I'm going to read a little bit into what he said, and I'm going to read into it so far where it's like, this is the worst possible case scenario, right? You have a veteran player who is coming up on his contract season that is starting to get a little frustrated. Like, I'm not sure why I'm being used this way. I don't know why things aren't working this way. I don't know why I wasn't targeted. I was opened. That eventually leads to a veteran player being like, hey, I still got juice in the tank. I'm having all-pro seasons, and this team's kind of on the downward trajectory. I want to go elsewhere. And that can be via trade, or that can be via free agency. George Kittle's an Iowa guy. He lives in Tennessee. Like, there's a real, and, I'm not connecting dots here, but it's like there's, like, the Niners are kind of inching towards a place you don't want to be for a franchise. And, like, if I had to ask you this, when the 2020 season ended, did you have hope they'd bounce back? I know I did. Bad year, injuries everywhere, the quarterback, edge rushers, receivers, running backs. Man, this is a disaster. I don't really have that same hope or belief this year. I think that this roster, has some really good spots. I think that, Brandon Ayuk, if he comes back, is awesome and great. If he's the same player, that's a big if, though. George Kittle, all-pro. Dominic Puni, a great rookie season, could be an all-pro at right guard. Nick Bosa's obviously great. Fred Warner's obviously great. Mustafa's been really good at rookie season. Ronaldo Green's and Lenore's been great. That's like 10 players tops. Where I'm like, yeah, I'm bought in. You play 11 on 11. Well, you can't have 10 good players and nobody can figure it out, And even Brock Purdy, like, can I just be honest here? Like, I love Brock Purdy. I really, really, really do. You know what his stat line was in this game? And look, the stat line is really irrelevant when it comes to a lot of things because the odds, you have a great throwing day, and this one's not great, but he threw the football just one more time than Josh Allen. One more time. But he only had 94 yards compared to Josh Allen's 148. Purdy had no touchdowns compared to Allen's 2 touchdowns in this one. In fact, Allen actually had 3. He had a rushing touchdown. Now, I get it. Josh Allen, Wyoming kid, bigger bodied, stronger arm. But it just feels like you watched what an elite quarterback does today. Josh Allen walked into this season with his entire roster essentially stripped away from him. Goodbye, Stephon Diggs. Goodbye, half of your offensive line. Goodbye, your 2 defensive safeties. Goodbye, everything you've come to know. And figure it out. And Josh Allen figures it out this year. With Keon Coleman, and they get Amari Cooper, who really hasn't been that great this year for Buffalo. You have Dawson Knox. You have Kincaid, who's been hurt for a little bit of time. And really, all the pressure's on Josh Allen's shoulders. And it's not to compare the two people in Purdy and Allen, but in a season like this for Brock Purdy, okay, no Brandon Ayuk, can you win? No Christian McCaffrey, can you win? Deebo Samuel's not playing, can you win? George Kittle's not playing, can you figure things out? Offensive line isn't having a great day, what can you do? And early in the year, we all pointed and said, wow, look at Brock Purdy, awesome, having a great year. Special teams was terrible, the defense was terrible, and Ronnie Bell caught that pass, man, like this thing is different, like, oh my God, like, and it's all about, Brock for the first month and a half. And really, ever since that Dallas Cowboys game, and you can argue that second half was good, really good, but, Brock really has not been the same guy since the bye week. He was not great against the Buccaneers. I don't care who tells you that. Go back and watch that game. He was bad that first half. In the second half, there were some plays that were there for sure, but like Brock, despite 340 passing yards, he was not great. He was not great. I don't care what the analytics say or the EPA says. Watch the game. Like, they can only take you so far. Brock was not great in that game, and I can argue Brock Purdy has not played a good football game since the bye week. And he has arguably not played a complete good football game since that Seahawks win on Thursday Night Football. And it's not saying I don't like Brock Purdy. I'm not saying I'm out on Brock Purdy. Or I'm not even saying Brock Purdy can't be the quarterback to lead you to a Super Bowl. I'm just saying that, when you look at how the year has gone, you got to have a guy at the top that can pick you up when things aren't going right. And yes, there are questions here in the chat. Yep, and you're right. Everyone's worst nightmare. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Brock let me down today a little bit. Allen has to have the better offensive line, though, right? That could be a difference. I don't know. I would say, yeah. The Niners' offensive line, despite, again, what the analytics say, they've been better. They've been atrocious this year. And I think that a lot of the concerns and issues they've had and a lot of the problems we've noticed is that, hey, Brock's getting pressured a lot, and some of that's his own fault, not getting rid of the football and not having CMC. And, some of the things you get used to, you don't realize you're kind of using those to be a safety check down option for you and a safety net. And that was a big problem for Brock early. And you can use this game, and I'm sure you're screaming, well, Brock was hurt. He had the shoulder injury. And okay, fine. I'm not just talking about today. Where was Brock in the Seahawks game? They lost. Where was Brock against, I don't know, last week against Packers? He was hurt, mind you, but still, it's like, I love Brock a lot, but when you're asking a franchise, I'm not saying I wouldn't do this, but you're asking a franchise to literally say, hey, we want to pay you the most money of any player in the entire league's history. Now, that isn't Brock's fault. That's the market, right? But if I asked you today, would you pray? We're praying a lot, hoping for wins out here, I'll tell you that one. But would you pay Brock Purdy $65 million after this year? Per season, would you pay Brock the most money of any quarterback all time? I don't know. Brock was terrible against the Chiefs, as Bills Mafia North says here.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write 1 million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Go around the league right now. Joe Burrow has been helped by nobody on the Bengals, and he's balling. He is the only person in Jamar Chase and company that are trying to lift that roster up. They're losing games. It's not because of Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow really is the only reason they're winning any of their games. Josh Allen with nobody. Keon Coleman's been out for a while. No Stephon Diggs, no James, or no Dalton Kincaid. How does he react? He puts up 35 points in the snow. Excuse me. I've been sick for a while. But it's when it's snowing or raining, all of a sudden Brock is I don't know what to do. And look, there were so many times in this game, and it's an amalgamation of bad offensive line play and receivers not getting open. All that's true, as it has been all year long. And it doesn't mean that Brock hasn't earned money. Brock has earned a contract extension. If Tua Tagovailoa gets one, Brock Purdy gets one. If Daniel Jones got one, Brock Purdy gets one. If Jordan Love gets one, Brock Purdy should get one. No one's saying don't pay your dude. It's just that when it gets a little chilly outside and the ball gets a little slippery, it's Brock can't throw anymore. And, it's look, that's frustrating for a team that's we need you to pick us up. And It's like, I don't like, Brock in this game didn't play well. In fact, he was bad. Bad. The best Brock throw in this game was a diving catch by Juwan Jennings. I don't know what to say to that. Excuse me again, I'm really sorry about the coughing. I was sick on Thanksgiving, on my birthday, and I'm still sick now. But for Brock, it's just like, how are... We've seen Brock play, 2.5 seasons now, and he's been awesome. Awesome. And it's like, yes, pay him Super Bowl, NFC Championship game, where can the ceiling be? And it's like, okay, I'm not saying go draft the dude. I think this quarterback class isn't very good. It's like, but there's a reason why, and I'm not going to use this exact example, but Jesus says here, why do the Niners have to overpay for quarterbacks like teams like the Cowboys and Dak and the Dolphins and Tua and the Jaguars and Trevor and the Saints and Carr and the Falcons and Kirk Cousins? I walked into this year with Brock as my 7th or 8th best quarterback, and I think that's not a crazy step to say after coming out of last season. He was really good. Through about the bye week, I thought he was the 8th best quarterback in football. And I stood by that. But now it's like, like, I'm not too sure. Like, Brock feels more like the 13th best quarterback in football. The 14th best quarterback in football so far this year. And do you want to pay that guy $65 million a year? I wouldn't want to do that. Maybe it's more $50 million. Again, I'm sorry. I think Brock Purdy has unfortunately worked his contract down this year, not up. And, you are already paying Ayuk big money. You're paying Debo relatively nice chunk of change. You're paying Kittle. You just extended Christian McCaffrey. You just redid Trent Williams. Bosa's contract will be hitting up even bigger the next few years. Fred Warner's getting paid. You just paid Lenore this year. They're going to have to make choices on Charvarius Ward and Hufanga and Greenlaw and Aaron Banks and company. Malik Collins is making a nice chunk of change. Like, Leonard Floyd's involved in that conversation for sure. And you also have to fill holes on your team. Like, I would not pay Brock Purdy $65 million. You can want that, but if he says, hey, Kyle, hey, John, I want $65 million. I want to reset that market. I just slide over this game's tape. You want this? You want record-breaking money? Win a game in the snow, Brock. Pick the team up in the snow and the rain, Brock. When you lose Christian McCaffrey, when Ayuk isn't out there, you know who wins games like this? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. And it's like, where were you at tonight? Maybe there's a more serious injury happening that we don't know about. Kyle said he's fine. They allow the time. And I'm not someone that says, oh, he was fine. Like, no. If Brock was hurt, okay. If Brock was hurt, cool. I don't want him to be hurt. I want him to be healthy. And if that was a problem, fine. Then play somebody else, man. Why even risk him? You played him until there was like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Why? If he was hurt. I think he was fine. He was playing timid the entire first half. He was playing scared. There was no shots downfield. Now the Bills played 2 high safeties to stop that stuff. Brock wasn't even throwing the football like 8 yards downfield. It was all screened, which, hey, we all want screens in the game. We're cool with screens. Get screens involved. We love that stuff. Get your guys the football in their hands. Let them make plays. But it's like, you're on this weird teetering spot as a franchise where you wanted a young rookie quarterback on a cheap contract when you could pay everybody else Okay, now you got to pay Brock. And you already paid everybody else. Sooner or later, you're either going to have to not pay Brock and figure something else out at quarterback, or start letting other guys leave or trading or cutting them. And I don't know if San Francisco wants to do that. And so, if Brock was hurt and he was hindered, I'd rather see Brandon Allen back out there or Joshua Dobbs. Because one, why risk the health, first off, of Brock Purdy if you're going to pay him that big money? And two, if he can't throw, if you can't throw 20 yards downfield, Josh Allen's out there throwing the ball 30 yards downfield. And he's a bigger-bodied country boy from Wyoming, I get it, but it's you got to have players like that. You can't have dudes that hike the football on third down, okay? Game's on the line, got to get back in the football game, and, ball's gone. And you're like, what the heck happened? So Juszczyk fumbles, and then Purdy fumbles, and then Debo on the kick return fumbles, and you're like, we need help. Help me. Help me. My God, I'm choking like San Francisco was tonight. God, help me. I got my tea right here, thankfully, but my goodness. They're just a bad team. And nobody's picking them up. Bad team. Jair Brown bad. Mooney Ward bad. Brock Purdy bad in this game. I thought that the lone big bright spot of this one was really Christian McCaffrey. And it sucks that Christian McCaffrey was looking like himself again. There was little hints of it during the Packers game. You're like, okay, there's CMC. There's Christian McCaffrey. That's the old CMC last year. Okay, about to break out. Maybe he gets going and the offense gets working. Then you get the play action moving and you start to figure things out. And here comes the run. You can lose against the Bills fine, but you get the offense moving around. They're competitive against Buffalo. And you have Chicago. You can beat them if you get CMC going. You got the Rams. It'll be a tough game, but you can beat them with CMC going. And okay, here comes the run. And then it's boom, in the blink of an eye. Done for the season again. And this was a major concern for a lot of people coming into the year once CMC was ruled out for a large portion with the Achilles bilateral tendonitis. And it was oh God, do you want to play him? Do you risk it? And I was kind of on the fence of play him slowly, don't ride him too much. And, you can mix in Mason and Grendo, and you can kind of figure this thing out on the go. And on the second drive of the game, when the offense is getting churned in and they're up 3-0, here they go. You get a big screen pass for 12 yards of Christian McCaffrey. The next play is a big 12-yard run by Christian McCaffrey. Then Mason comes in. He doesn't do well. Then it's a massive 18-yard run by McCaffrey. Okay, McCaffrey has 3 plays of 15-plus yards on the same drive. You're like, that is San Francisco 49ers football the last 2 years. CMC is back. We're feeling good. You're putting that last infinity stone in your gauntlet. You're like, I am re-energized. Here come the San Francisco 49ers, and bang. He gets tackled on that big 18-yard run, falls on his knee. The next handoff he gets, he thinks he's okay, catches it, hobbles a little bit, and it slides down, jogs off the field, and the whole world felt like it just stopped spinning for about 15 seconds. Everybody said, is that the Achilles? Did it pop? Is he okay? What happened to CMC? I was getting texts from friends like, are you serious, Christian McCaffrey? And it's just like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And in a game where it's like, finally, here come the wheels. They're spinning. They're starting to get some life. It's starting to feel like last year. You can see the sun, the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, freedom! The offense may finally break out. And it's like, bang! Nope. And according to Kyle Shanahan in postgame, Christian McCaffrey, who was seen on crutches wearing a knee brace, suffered a PCL injury in his knee, and it is assumed it is a season-ending injury. And you're just like, you've got to be kidding me. If anything couldn't get any worse, for the people in the pack it up, end of the year, just write it out, don't play Brock, don't play Christian, don't play Debo, don't play Kittle, don't play Bosa, don't play Trent, don't play your stars. Take Fred Warner off the field. You probably feel pretty vindicated now, huh? And I hate saying that, but it's like, I mean, man, like, I think it was kind of a freak thing. He kind of landed on his knee on a frozen surface, and it was just like, bang, PCL. Now, you hope it's a sprain, not a tear, and maybe he's okay, and it's not a big deal, but, when you talk about years like this, a quote-unquote lost season, the one thing you hope doesn't happen is anything that happens this year doesn't impact next year. Injuries, somebody else, whatever, and they've already had one of those. That is Brandon Ayuk. With the ACL, the MCL, and more ligament damage, that is a potentially career-altering ending injury. And, that's already hard to swallow in itself, knowing you want to pay Brock, and the plan is to pair Brock and Ayuk together and hope that kind of works out. And now you realize you have Christian McCaffrey, who I think will be 29 next year. And now he will be coming off of bilateral Achilles tendonitis that cost him 10 weeks this season. And now a PCL injury. And if it's a tear, you could be talking about missing more time next year. And it's like, when you hear people mention, the window's closed, you're kind of seeing the stepping stones of that being a potential. You're seeing the kind of inching towards, this is how empires fall. It's the exact reason why you have to strike when the iron's hot. And it's funny enough, I was on postgame tonight, overtime, on 95-7 the game. And a caller asked, and he kind of was like, look, the Niners haven't been themselves all year. They've lost themselves. And I pushed back on that and said, no, they didn't. They didn't lose themselves. They had, in a weird way to say this, they had themselves taken away. In 2019, they lose the Super Bowl, and George Kittle's like on the sideline, I'll be back with a mother vengeance. I'm going to win one of these puppies. I'm going to come back, and the next time I'm here, I'm going to figure this thing out, and we're going to win. And they get back after long, grueling 3 seasons of play. Finally, they're back in the Super Bowl. And lo and behold, it's the same opponent with the same quarterback and the same head coach and the same tight end and the same defensive players and the same defensive coordinator. And you got similar cores are still together. You're like, wow, what a chance to rewrite history and unbalance the record books and set everything right. And you get into overtime in that game where Debo's on and off the field and Kittle can't even move his shoulder on the sideline. He's like, hey, Kyle, I can't play anymore. This thing is jacked up. And you are a 4th down stop away from winning that game. And you don't get it done. Everything you worked for that year was for nothing. And in, 4 months' time, hey, see you at OTAs. See you at training camp. You climb to the mountaintop a second time, only to get knocked all the way back down. Now, I don't know about you, but that's really hard to do once. And okay, you're hungry. You've lost the first time. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get back here. I've tasted. I've eaten from the golden chalice. Excuse me, I'm dying over here, man. Someone give me some medicine, some Mucinex or something. I'm dying. But I've tasted the golden chalice. I've eaten at the table but couldn't finish my meal. I had breakfast and lunch but didn't get to have dinner and dessert at the table. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get back here. I'm going to make sure when I'm back I finish my meal. And they get back. And it's like, okay, here we go. You have a lead. Second half takeaway. Feeling good? Gonna win the Super Bowl. And just like before, you fumble it, and you have to sit there in your own thoughts and say, I don't have the effort. I don't have the mindset, the morale to openly tell myself I'm going to come back here with a mother and vengeance. I'm 31 years old. I'm beaten, I'm broken. My ankle's jacked up. I got some tea, everyone's worth nightmare. Don't worry. I got tea and honey. Been sick for a week and a half. Thanksgiving was a bedridden holiday for myself this year. But this team hasn't been the same since February. They lost themselves there. They had themselves taken away by the Chiefs. They have not had what it's taken all year long to climb back up that mountain. They don't have the grit. They don't have, this is a demoralized team turning on each other. Deebo Samuel turning on Jake Moody and Tabor Pepper on the sideline. Hey, tighten it up. It's like, man, okay. That's weird. Accountability, though. Then no one holds Deebo accountable.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
And then the last 3 weeks have been a disaster. And then you have Kittle today essentially saying, I don't know why I didn't catch the football. I don't know why, I wasn't targeted. I don't know why I was in the backfield blocking. Those are questions that start to be kind of thrown out there where you hear hey, we got to change some stuff. The defense was terrible tonight. I get it. It was snowy, and okay, you want to use that. Well, it's like, man. And thank you so much, everyone's worst nightmare, and Kim for the speedy recovery messages. I hope I can get better soon. My wife was sick. I was sick. We got my dad sick. We're just fingers crossed, hoping my mom doesn't get sick too. The dog doesn't get sick. And it's like, man. But that's what happens when your wife's a second grade teacher and kids are snotting in a blow-on and don't wash their hands because they're gross and nasty. Repercussions are had. But I digress. The San Francisco 49ers, when you don't insulate, we don't get any depth, well, repercussions are had. You lose games like this. You get outscored 73-20 in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. 73-20. I have no idea if that has ever happened in the entire Kyle Shanahan era. That's how bad this is. This is 2020, but worse. But worse. My goodness. 2020, but worse. Worse than my cough. That's how bad it is. But I digress. Clayton says here, to be fair, to be honest, the Niners could still run the table. They just need to stay healthy. Could they? Sure. The white flag is not being waved just yet, but it's certainly up. It's just not being waved. It's like, we're here. We ain't here yet, though. I don't think health is the problem, though. I don't think health is the problem. But they'll give it their all. you're not going to convince Brock and Trent and Fred Warner and Kittle and Bosa. Like, if there's a small chance they can go to the playoffs, they ain't giving up. They'll play every single game. Every single game. But yeah, I don't know. Papa J says here, Sterling, do you think that Kyle needs to step away from the older players and get some new players coming in? I think it will be wise to, whether it's Dre Greenlaw or somebody else, jeez, the cough is so bad. Whether it's Trey Greenlaw or D. Winters or another young linebacker or moving off of Jake Brendel, I think it's worthwhile getting younger at key positions. I think getting another edge rusher in the first round goes a long way. I think getting a center in the second round goes a long way. Obviously, I'm kind of spitballing here, but I think when you talk about aging players and younger players, I think it's like Jake Brendel, goodbye. Devondre Campbell, goodbye. Travarius Ward, goodbye. Isaac Yiadom, goodbye. You can argue Colton McKivitz, goodbye. I think there's like real conversations to be had about that stuff. You can argue Deebo Samuel, goodbye. Get younger, more explosive. Eric Saubert, goodbye. Finding a younger tight end behind George Kittle. I think it's just, there are key positions. It doesn't mean a wholesale, gotta get younger. It's more so of just okay, there are places you can improve and get younger at. Linebacker, center, edge rusher, and places like that you can, yes, get younger and move off of older players. It's one of the oldest rosters in football. And you're terrible. That's the worst place to be. This team feels like those older Saints teams when they had Drew Brees and they had Cameron Jordan and DeMario Davis. It was you put things together and go in the wild card, make a run. It's you can try. You might make it in. You're going to lose in the first round, though. That's not good. My God. Keys asks here, why no catches for Pearsall the last few games? Not looking good. Lamb McConkey should have been the pick if that's the receiver they wanted. I wanted an offensive lineman, but the Niners don't believe in that unlike the elite teams. San Francisco did take Dominic Pooney, who's been awesome, but I do think a reprieve and getting back to trench warfare as their go-to motto is really key. Funny enough, that's your name, Keys, into kind of rekindling their magic. That said, I'm not sure why Pearsall is not getting targets. I don't know. I really don't know. It's weird. He's been open at times. I'm not sure Brock doesn't see him or, Brock has quarterback and receiver chemistry is really big, right? And I think, once you get the actual offseason program with Brock and with Ricky, barring injury, you're going to see, I think, a more in-tune approach to both those guys, and they're going to be more in sync. But because of how the year went and how the offseason went, you've seen kind of I don't want to say lack of trust, but kind of just this, hey, Juwan, you're there. Hey, Kittle, you're there. Hey, CMC, you're there. And, okay, here's Debo, too. And okay, well, then Pearsall gets kind of forgotten. It's unfortunate. I really think that I don't think it's a Pearsall problem. I think it's more of an off-season issue. Tom Brady, not to compare the two, Purdy and Brady, but Brady was someone that if I don't trust you, you ain't getting the football. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from, how much you're getting paid. I don't care if you're Julian Edelman on the first year of your contract or if you're Chad Johnson off the Bengals. If I don't trust you, I don't care. So I think there's some of that going on. It's not on purpose. It's just Juwan knows where I'm going to be. It's why Ayuk and Purdy were so great last season because they had chemistry and it was there and it was, okay, on time you're going to be here. That's been Juwan Jennings this year, not Ayuk. But hey. Everyone's worst nightmare asks, what do you think about Kyle throwing CMC into the fire, letting him start coming back from a serious injury like that? I didn't love it. Don't love it. I don't think that's not why he got hurt, but I think Jordan Mason running the football 6 to 8 times would have undoubtedly helped them against the Packers and against the Seahawks, but too late now. Too late now. Any more questions here? Papa J says, maybe Kyle's pushing to show to the Debo is still great, so you can make a case to keep him longer. That's why everyone else is getting shorted. Be pretty stupid. That'd be a pretty stupid reason, Papa J. Maybe that's the case, though. Pretty stupid reason, though, if that's the case. Let's see here. Any more comments in the YouTube chat? Clayton says, call me crazy, but I do think the Niners think of moving on from Shanahan if they tank the rest of the season away, or will they slowly blame the injuries? They're not firing Kyle, but I don't think they can solely blame the injuries. I think, you can view things more nuanced than that. I think they're okay in letting Kyle coach. He's been very successful. He is the second most successful head coach outside of Andy Reid, and maybe you can argue Sean McVay since 2017, 2019. I think this year isn't the time to let go of him. I think after next year, maybe the conversation actually begins for real, but I think it's kind of a combination of a lot of stuff, and I think it's kind of hard for them to ignore. It's really obvious what's happening. I think if they don't, if you go into the offseason and there isn't, serious, hey, we're going to make changes here. Hey, we're going to adjust here. Hey, we're going to get new center and get new right tackle and get new left guard and add some edge rushers and shave some money off and make these smart, compelling moves to make you go, wow, they're trying to make changes, and I think they will. But if they don't, that's when you're like, what are we doing? You are confident this team, the way it's currently constructed, can actually win more than 10 games in a year? I don't know. So, Kyle isn't getting fired, but, yeah, and you're right, everyone's worst nightmare. Hit the like button, people. I'm out here sick, coughing up a lung, reacting to a 25-point loss at 11:48 at night for you. For you. Thank you, though. Thank you. Keys says, Jair Brown has looked slow in coverage and soft in run support. Another third-round bust. I think bust is a strong word, but I don't think it's wrong to say he's looked slow and pretty bad in coverage. I think that's right, but I don't think he's a bust. I think that people have second-year slumps. He was pretty good last year. I think that the Niners really need a coverage safety. They don't have that. Mustafa's more like that than Brown is, but Brown it feels like he's looking for the big play. Oh, I'm a playmaker. Okay, fine. Playmakers can make big plays. We're cool with that. But it's like, you don't have to be looking for it every single play. And I feel like that Brown's doing that. And it's like, you don't have to take someone's head off and, lay some wood on somebody and you're like, yeah. But then the next play, you give a 25-yard reception on third down and it's like, what was it worth? Nothing. And so, like Brock Purdy and many others on this team, the second half has been the second half has been the exact opposite of a second half run. It's been a kind of a second half, run backwards. They kind of were like, we don't know what to do. And it's like, man, I think that, Brown will be on the roster next year. I just don't think he should be the day one starter. But this team is frustrating too because they really are stubborn. Like Nick Sorensen was like, nope, Devondre Campbell's the starter, no competition, it's who he is. And it's like, are you sure? This is training camp, brother. You're supposed to kind of make an assessment after. And they were like, nope, he's the guy. And you're like, okay, we're 13 weeks in now. Are you sure he's the guy? And they still believe that, which is just baffling to me. Baffling. So he'll be here, rightfully so. I do think there maybe is an opening for Hufanga to come back because of that, but I would draft the safety. I don't know who's in the class just yet, and we'll get into that once that time comes around, which maybe be next week. Who knows? But they got to find a safety that can play with Mustafa. Mustafa's great. He's awesome, but they need to find that complementary piece to him. They have to find their Deshaun Gibson to their Hufanga. And they have their Hufanga kind of mold guy in Mustafa who can do much more than Hufanga can coverage-wise, but it's like, there's that kind of player in there, playmaker-wise, but it's like, you got to have that roaming coverage player. And they don't have that. Jimmy Ward was that. He may not get takeaways, and he may not, give you the ball back, but he'll roam back there, he'll cover deep, he'll make plays in front of him, and, Jimmy Ward was great at not letting big plays up. That's what they need. Like, keep it in front of you and don't let them get behind you. That's what they're missing. They need that player back alongside Mustafa next year and Brown if he has to play for any reason. Let's see what we got here. I think now's a good time to just remind you the Niners lost tonight, 35-10. Pretty bad game. Not really many great things to say. The punter was okay. Pat O'Donnell, he was okay. That's kind of it. CMC looked really good, and then he got hurt. And it's like, well, okay, great. That sucks. The season might be over. And I think, the Niners are in a position where it's like, you got to fight for your life on Sunday against the Bears at home. And if you don't, then yeah, your season is actually over. If you lose against the Bears, wrap it up. Call it a day. It is no longer theoretically, or it's like, well, it's over, but it's not. No, it's over. Next week is literally the end or somehow the potential continuation of their season. And we are hoping for the latter, but I think the expectations have gone from maybe, we hope, maybe to like, no. The odds they can make a run are pretty slim. But that said, I want to thank people like Papa J and Kim and Calachito, everyone's worst nightmare, Keys, Clayton, the young Montana with the Patrick Mahomes profile picture that just bothers me, but power to you, brother. Jesus, and many others in the YouTube chat, Bills Mafia North, wherever you're at, wherever you come from. Appreciate you joining me at 11:53 p.m. on the West Coast. Wasn't a close game. Was an ugly game. But man, really hard to summarize the San Francisco 49ers season. But if you're going to, show them this game. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. Fumbles at the goal line on kick returns. Brock Purdy can't hold the football. The Bills are doing these unscheduled trick plays to Josh Allen where Cooper catches a football, tossed back to Allen, and it's like you can go through every single drive of this game and say, oh, there's a chance. Never mind. Blew it. Oh, penalty. Crap. Oh, touchdown. Never mind, fumble. And you're like, yep, that is the entire Niner season in the 60 minutes tops. And it's frustrating. But that's kind of how it's been all year long. A frustrating ride of will they, won't they? Maybe they'll climb the hill, and you're like, okay, speed bump wasn't bad. Next level. And you're like, we are not ready for that. And it's like, well, that's to make it to 6 wins. They're 5-7 so far this year in 2024. They fall to the Buffalo Bills. They will return back home next Sunday against the Chicago Bears, and later in 2 weeks' time against the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe a run takes place, but we shall see what is in store for your and my San Francisco 49ers. If you could, follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. If you want to watch your Niners play, or You want to maybe see a basketball game, or you want to see a WWE contest, or you want to see, I don't know, a concert or an MLB game in the next season, go to SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase by using promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com. And again, save yourself $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sterling Bennett. Hope you like, share, subscribe, leave that review. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Christmas season, and we'll see if San Francisco keeps their season alive next Sunday against the Chicago Bears. And as always, stay faithful.